morning, good evening, good afternoon. My name is Richard, and as always, I welcome you to Wisdom Wednesday. And we are still following with the book. You deserve this shit. You building a better yourself, as well as getting unstuck. Again, I'm paraphrasing the title, but those were the reasons I picked this book, to work with myself as well as to share with you this week and through all our weeks. And today we enter a very important part. So before I get started, as always, subscribe, like, and share the video. If you find something in there that you like, or if somebody else needs this message, hit that bell so you know anytime we drop a video, as well as join us on our podcasts. Again, you can find our podcasts on any podcast server, including Amazon Music and iHeartRadio, and you can go ahead and listen to it there as well. With that being said, let's move into where last week we started on the section called awareness. And I think it's the most important part of what we do, because until you're aware of where you are, you don't know where you can start. When you're not aware of what is your issues, there's nothing you can fix. So the awareness part of it. So I hope that you took in and started journaling and started meditating and started doing small things. Most importantly, get the book, because again, I'm covering this at a very high level, but you want to have the book to hear the stories, to hear the things that are going on with it. With that being said, the links will be in the description of the video, so go ahead and click on them there. I have the Amazon links on there, and get the book for yourself. So let's talk about this week's topic, which is comfort zone. Now I'm going to cover this over 2 videos because there are a number of sections. I think it's 7 in total. We're going to cover the first 4 today, and then next week we'll cover the last 3. So let's talk about the definition of the comfort zone. And the author's definition is: your comfort zone is a place you feel most comfortable. It is a stress-free zone where you know you'll be where there will be no unexpected surprises or events. Although it is in our nature to retreat to the zone, it shouldn't be in our best interest. So again, our comfort zone can work for us as, a way to escape having to do more. But it also can harm us when you think of something more serious. So let's say a person in an abusive relationship, and it doesn't matter whether it's a man or a woman, a person who's in a job they don't like, a person that's in a situation they don't like, or maybe they're doing something that harms them. The comfort zone tells you that I'd rather be here, or as they use the terminology, the devil I know is better than the devil you don't know. The most important part here is that you understand that everything you do, every success you're looking for, is outside of that comfort zone. So the goal of this section is to show you the power of living outside your comfort zone. So how can you become comfortable? Showing you how you can become comfortable with being uncomfortable, and the actions that can help you outside your comfort zone. It will teach you many lessons, but the overarching theme of each lesson is standing in your uniqueness. And this is where we begin to see ourselves outside of it. So here are the sections, and I'll give my own quick commentary. Is first, building trust with yourself. And this was one of the main reasons I bought this book, was because I saw myself having people and constantly telling me that, you're doing a great job, you're welcome, you've got this, you do this. But somewhere inside of me was like, no, you're not good enough. And because I kept doing that, the energy that I would use to move forward didn't come. I would continue to fall back. We'll talk more about that. How rejecting the norm can benefit you. I used to live by a mantra called, I am not society's child. And I also realized that I was starting to play small because other people didn't want to see me big, and it intimidated them. And it took someone who was a friend of mine who said, remember that the people who want to be with you, the people that are ready to be with you, will come into your life. And those that aren't, they'll be moving away until they're ready to hear it. Feeling okay with being a beginner, starting over. I remember being interviewed for a entry-level call center technician job. And they're like, Rich, I see by your resume you've been a manager. Why would you want this? And I said, because I know to be a true leader, I need to start at the bottom and work my way up. And I did. The power of curiosity. Now, there's a difference between being nosy and being curious. We always hear curiosity killed the cat, but we know that that curiosity of that killed the cat was more of being nosy and putting your nose where it shouldn't be. But when we are curious about something, when something's interesting us, there's a desire to learn, and that learning desire should be held up and really practiced. And then the ones we're going to cover next week are why complacency shouldn't be a red flag, how you can benefit from failure, and we talk about this constantly, failing forward, and remove yourself from familiar surroundings. Again, that's your comfort zone. There was someone, I think it was in the book, The 12 Pillars, where the old man asked the mentee, are these friends of convenience or are they real friends? And he had to realize that a lot of the friends and the surroundings that he was in was more keeping him comfortable by saying, you can only do this. But again, we'll talk more about that next week. So let's begin with build trust in yourself. And I love, and I talked about this, when my battery kind of runs down because I don't trust myself. It is your trust battery works like this every time life presents you with a challenge to do something outside of your comfort zone. Your battery is either charged or discharged. This means if you decide to go against something outside of your comfort zone, your battery begins to deplete. You start to trust yourself less. However, if you do the opposite and choose to have the courage to live outside your comfort zone, your battery begins to charge. You begin to trust yourself more. And it is so true, because when you inspire to make motions, to keep moving, keep doing what you need to do, you find yourself getting inspired, getting energized, wanting to do more, and especially when you start to see your results. I've worked with a lot of groups, and a lot of times I'll walk away, and people are like, well, you always seem to walk away. I said, yes. Once I've done everything I've done to help them as well as all I can do for me, then it's time for me to move on. But that group will continue to succeed. If we look at the biblical stories, and as Jim Rohn says, take the religiosity out of it, focus on the stories, Jesus says that you can do all that I can do and so much more. And it's the same thing. I've taken you as far as I can, but there will be somebody in that group who'll be able to take what I've done and begin to improve on it. And there'll be somebody past that person. But that's what's important, is that we're willing to step outside our comfort zone to find that out for ourselves. So let's go through a few of the things he talks about here, and it's understand and work with your inner critic. That's that voice you hear in your head, the one that you talk to yourself with. And if you're sitting there thinking to yourself, I don't talk to myself, well, that's the voice. But the point here is that it's that negative voice that constantly, when you get ready to do something, it tells you can't do it, or tells you you're not good enough to do it. And trust me, that voice screams in my head. And I know that through my affirmations, through that, and I talked about this in my Tea Time Truth Talk with my daughter, is the book 5-Second Rule with Mel Robbins, where she talks about it. Sometimes that when we know we got to do something, it's just go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and jump into it. Because any other time we leave and do stuff, you continue to hear that critic's voice inside of you. Second thing here is go ahead and challenge yourself to try something new. There's a lot of things that, again, we'll talk about more about that in the curiosity, but there are things that we want to do that we're afraid to do because we believe that we're not ready to do it. But if you challenge yourself to do it, there's a newfound excitement that happens. Be kind to yourself. This is where we talk about that negative talk in your head, that voice that's screaming. Usually it's because it's berating us to scare us enough to not do what we need to do. But when we get past it, or if we can be gentle with ourselves, or just as easy as when that thought comes in, say, hey, thank you for sharing, but let's move on. I use that technique in meditation. When we're in meditation, sometimes we get those thoughts jumping in. Hey, thanks for sharing, and put it on a cloud and send it on its way. Same thing here. The author puts it best when he says, the more pressure you put on yourself for not being good enough or not being confident, the quicker our trust battery will deplete. And that should never be the goal. Focus on positive affirmations, telling yourself positive statements to help guide you toward a trust battery that constantly is full and charging. Through this practice, you will slowly see the power of self-kindness and reap the benefits of treating yourself as you wish to be treated by others. So we need to start in ourselves what we want from others. There's this peace song, let there be peace on earth, but let it begin with me. And that's what's important, is that we need to understand that that's what it is. And trusting yourself is the first step in recognizing your full potential. That's a quote from the book. So let's talk about rejecting the norm. And as I said earlier, I like to live by the mantra, I'm not society's child. I am not one for labels. I am not one for that. I believe that, yes, there are situations where labels do help and, help bring focus to things. But once we're past that, why do we need the labels? Okay. So I'm going to read from the author's notes here. It says, too many people go through life stressed out and overwhelmed about their appearance, passion, and purpose and actions. When in actuality, we should have the confidence to be whoever we want to be and do whatever we want to do. But that's tough to do in a world full of judgment, competition, and comparison. So what's the way around this? Reject the norm. Rejecting the norm sets yourself up to a life worth living as long as you reject the normal for the purpose of chasing a dream. So again, if you know the stories, we talk about, two examples that were done that I remember. One was the story of the crabs. You put one crab in a bucket, that crab will do everything in its power to get out of that bucket. But put that crab in with a bunch of crabs. When that new crab tries to get out, they will pull him back in. And society does the same thing to us. When we try to make moves, we're being told, and even if the people around us who are telling us think they're doing it from love, they know that they're doing it from a place of fear for themselves and fear for you. Things you shouldn't do, things you shouldn't try. Now, of course, we're glad for people like that when it truly is a dangerous situation. But a lot of times it's just a fear of the simple that we don't allow to happen. First, you need faith. Faith in yourself, faith in your desires, faith in your uniqueness. Second, you need motivation, the almighty of doing anything uncomfortably difficult and challenging that really is going to put you to the test. And motivation is definitely not something you can easily get. Once you have that motivation, one of my mentors used to always talk about priming the pump. So if you remember those old pump things that you would have to pump and pump to get the air out until the water starts flowing, and then you keep going, that water starts flowing and starts flowing and starts flowing. But if you stop pumping, the water will flow to a point and will stop. But guess what? You now lost the momentum of that water going, and now you have to prime that pump again and keep going. So that's the point here, is that you want to make sure you're having. Motivation comes from something else. It's created, not received. And who creates it? You. You must speak motivation through your own actions. You must do something to feel motivated. That's the approach you need to take when you want to reject the norm and stand for uniqueness. You must not only feel motivated, but you must also create the motivation. And I tell people all the time, 2 years ago, you would not see me on video. I just was not motivated to be on video. I didn't want to be in anybody's eyes. I did a podcast so I could hide behind a mic and talk about whatever I needed to talk about or whatever the subject matter was. But I had to motivate myself to know that we're in a video section and people want to see you and want to relate with you. Okay? That's, when you find the power to create that motivation, you'll be able to run wild and have the courage to reject the normal. When you reject the normal, you set yourself apart from the masses. I like to say you set yourself free. Because once you're no longer accountable to the people around you, how I look, how I dress, how I speak, what I speak about, what I believe, you now found a newfound freedom that allows you to create this motivation. If no one has paved a path that resonates with you, then go pave your own and inspire people with your confident leap of faith. When there's no one to inspire you, that just sets you up to find your own niche and serve as an inspiration for people that after you to come. And you've heard me say this all over again, is that especially when I do my Sunday services now, I encourage you at the end. I remember leaving Catholic church and they would be like, go in peace and love and serve the Lord. I like to say, go in peace, joy, and happiness and go bless somebody with your newfound knowledge. And when we talk about, and again, this is going into more of a spiritual side of things, when we talk about the Lord, we're talking about that divinity within ourselves, the I am within ourselves. So by serving that inspiration, that divine inspiration, And we grow from that. We create that motivation. We create that light. We create that space to move forward. We know that we can go out and give other people permission to do so. And it is so important. Give yourself permission to be a beginner. Again, at any time, the author talks about wanting to be a musician and not being afraid, and being afraid because he's never played an instrument before. Well, heck, I've never thought I'd be a reverend. I never thought I'd be a prayer speaker. I never thought I'd be a life coach. I never thought I would be a Reiki practitioner and actually a Reiki teacher, a master teacher now. So there are a lot of things that years ago I never would have thought or even attempted. But when I finally found my niche and said, hey, I want to serve the best way I can. Heck, I even became interested in now sound healing. And we'll be taking some classes on that and getting used to seeing myself helping through vibration of sound. I know how I feel when I use my crystal ball, my crystal bowl during Reiki sessions, or even for myself, how I feel when it resonates or how the people around me feel. So again, this is my beginner's mind. I start over. I am new to this. No way I can teach it now, but trust me, when I get through it and actually learn how to do it, I want to teach other people because I don't want to be the only person doing it. I want to be able to say, hey, get yourself a crystal bowl, whatever note session, and help you with it. But it doesn't matter. It could be the speaking. It could be that. When people come to me and say, I'm afraid of speaking, I tell them that. I remember I know I'm an introvert, and people will say, oh, well, you're not an introvert. I've seen you get up on stage. I said, do you understand that when you speak on stage, I'm facing an audience, but I'm alone up there. So I just talk outward and hope that somebody gets inspired by it. When you take on a new task, hobby, endeavor, or practice, it's important to remember that accepting the fact that you're a beginner is okay. There's nothing wrong with it. The nice thing about being in that position is your growth potential. It's infinite. You are at the bottom, and the only way for you to grow is toward your North Star, the vision and the dream you set your mind on. The incremental progress along your path is a drug that helps you going, keeps you going. Excuse me. Your incremental progress can serve as two things: your motivation to keep striving for more and small victories to celebrate. Truth be told, with those two things, I believe you can be unstoppable. Not only will your progress feed your mindset, excuse me, to understand your potential, but also it's going to make you feel darn good along the way. Of course, there'll be hiccups, but those hiccups are just opportunities to learn. When you accept it's okay to start over, when you accept it's okay to be a beginner, we always say that if you get, Les Brown used to say this. He says, if you fall down on your back, it's most important, because if you can look up, you can get up. And that's where you want to be. And finally, curiosity of experience. Being curious, the curiosity of experience can lead to self-realization. The quality of time spent in each of those experiences matters. Without curiosity, we will never learn what's out there for us to chase. A lot of times we move into this space where we're curious about things, that we do things and not know why we're doing it. And then as we get through it, as we become a beginner, we start going through that new thing, we realize who we want to be. And when we know who we want to be, we chase it further. The curiosity of experience is something we all need to practice constantly, whether you found a path that resonates or not. It's important to always be curious about new experiences. This allows our life to expand into new areas and help us evolve into multifaceted individuals we were always meant to be. And that's from the author's notes. And again, a reminder that, sometimes that curiosity leads us to a place where we need to be. Living in a bubble of what if isn't worth it. It is a waste of our mental space and yields a potential for living in regret. It's much more worth it to seek out whatever it is in our mind and to get answers. Living with regret isn't only a why would you want to do that kind of thing. It also doesn't make sense when you only have one shot here. You have one life. Do anything you want to do in that one life, because for lack of a better way to say it, We're all going to eventually die. When we die, our opportunities shift depending on your belief or what happens. I think it was, I'm trying to remember the author, one of the books I read. He talks about the three questions you ask when you're when you know that it's your time to pass. And it is, did I matter? Did I make a difference? And I don't remember the third question, but those two are enough. Did I matter? Did I love? There it is. And did I make a difference? And that comes from if you truly become who you're inspired to come. So I like this where he says the harsh truth of our society is that too many of us decide we're okay with what we are handed, when in actuality it is in our best interest to drop that notion and go after what we want. And he says again, choose to be courageous. Choose to represent confidence. Choose to try new things. Choose to take a new responsibility. Choose to seek the unfamiliar. Choose to realize that the outcome of your life is in your hands. Choose to take the appropriate steps to get outside your comfort zone. Choose to do something that will challenge you, bring it into positive change, help you evolve into the person you're always meant to be, the best version of yourself. Choose to be curious. It says doing otherwise imposes a limitation that makes us believe that what we know and what we were handed is all that we achieve. And we know that's a lie. There is so much more to us than that. So I'm going to end it here. I will suggest not only read this section of the book up to that. We will start with section 13, which is complacency, a true sickness, next week. But I will also give you this one thing, and I was listening to it today. And it is by a group called Fearless Motivation, and it's called Letter to My Future Self. And it is important to hear it as it is because it reminds us that what actions we take today is what dictates what happens later. I was always taught that what is transpiring in my life right now was based on decisions I made 5 years ago and the actions I took. But the good thing is I am alive, I am breathing, which means that today I can begin that next 5-year span. So I'm imploring you the same thing. Again, it's Fearless Motivation, Letter to Your Future Self. Check it out. They're a great group. They have a lot of great motivations for workout and just inspiration in general. So check them out. Again, the links to the book are here. I implore you to get the books, highlight it, take notes, do what you want. Because again, you're getting my perspective on it, but you may get something different. And feel free to share that in the comments with us. And with that being said, as always, I love you. Nothing you can do about it. And I will see you on our next episode. And I hope you join us on our Sunday services as we do a celebration service every week. And we continue on our topic, a positive path to spiritual living. What is it and how can we use it in our lives?